Hi, this is Roger Moore, and you're listening to James Bond Radio.
Hello, and welcome to part 8 of the 30 Days of No Time to Die. In today's edition of James Bond Radio, we're going to go to visit Q's house, and we're going to eavesdrop on a appointment between Saffin and Madeleine Swan. As always, with me today is my compadre, Mr. Chris Wright. How you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed, Tommy.
Good
Day
stuff.
8. We're getting through them now, aren't we? Day 8.
We are
not too
through.
bad.
Absolutely, man. So we've got this is a sort of a quieter section of the film, isn't it? We don't have any big action sequences today. It's sort of it's all story based, character based stuff, isn't it? So why don't you lead the way then? Where do we begin festivities today?
Okay, so this is a really, really cool scene. I love it. It's very, very comical. So basically, Moneypenny takes Bond to see Q. We see Q. He's setting up dinner. He's obviously got a date on the way, which he mentions in a bit. I like the house where he's living is. I could picture Q in that house. I think they did well in terms of the decor, the layout, every little thing. He's got a Smeg fridge at the back, and I think that's quite Q.
I'm intrigued by his taste in music as well. I don't know what that is. Yeah.
No, I know that's one of the ones we've tried to get. I tell you what, we've got a few of us have found the music at the pre-titles with Madeleine's mum is listening to that music, and it's fantastic. And I'm listening to that a bit, but no one at the moment seems to have found the music that Q is listening to. So if anyone knows
needs to Shazam it next time,
then stick it on the Facebooks and stuff, and we'll play it. But no, I really like this scene. I think it's great. So obviously he's super excited. Q hears a doorbell, sort of goes to it. He obviously thinks it's his date, and then he sees in the little video com Bond and Moneypenny. He can just see himself just look so deflated, and he sort of buzzes them in. I like the way he's got like the double doors as well, so that extra safety. You've got that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And then Bond's like, "Hello, Q, I've missed you," and just sort of wanders in past him. And also, it's so funny that like they're so like they really make themselves at home, don't they? Which is great. I think obviously they like pour themselves some wine and stuff like that. But there's that great moment where they're basically saying, "Oh, we need your help," and Q's a bit, obviously he's upset. He's waiting for someone, and he kind of refuses it. And I love the way he takes the cat off the table. And they come with fur these days, and that's great, isn't it? That's really, really cool.
He's a quirky little dude, Q, isn't he? And because obviously they is it Spectre where he talks about his cats, or was that?
Yes, it is.
It is
Spectre. I
it's
think.
not
Yeah,
Skyfall,
it must be.
Where he
No, I
talks
think
about
it is
his
Spectre.
Yeah, I often wondered like what sort of cats he would have, and in one thought I thought he would have like. Not like Blofeld's cat, but those cats that are really fluffy and they always look a bit grumpy.
Oh, yeah.
I imagined he'd have one of those. But the furless cats aren't a million miles away from. He wouldn't just have a normal cat. He'd have a weird cat,
not.
wouldn't he?
Definitely.
And, so that makes sense to me.
It's a little bit Mr. Bigglesworth from Doctor Who, from
I didn't think about that.
Paris, isn't it?
Yeah.
The old Mr. Bigglesworth. But I really like that. And obviously, I don't know if it was hinted at in Spectre, but clearly in this film, Q is gay. When he's talking about the date with a man. Hopefully that doesn't ruffle any feathers, because obviously it shouldn't do.
World's gone mad, Chris. It's woke PC-ness gone crazy. Cancelled the entire series. Good Lord.
Who'd have thunk it, hey? Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. But no, I'm glad they went with that, because I'm sure Ben Whishaw kind of was wanting that to be the case.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's great. Why not?
Yeah,
it's
why not? Exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad they sort of went with that. And and so it's a good funny scene. So basically they're trying to say to him, help us, and he's refusing until Moneypenny tells Q, okay, this is about Heracles. And Bond holds up the USB, and then I like that Q's line, it's never 9 to 5, is it? Yeah. And he kind of, okay, then all right, fair enough. He's intrigued enough to check it out, isn't he? Yeah. And then we get that other bit where they've gone through, so he's by his computers and he holds up the USB and basically says, do you know where this has been? Yeah. And I like that because there's a couple of little references here. So obviously it's been passed through Obrachev's alimentary canal. They didn't go for that one. They could have done, but they didn't. But then it's very similar to, you have no idea what it went through to get here. Bond's line with a bullet in Golden Gun. So there's a little sort of hint of that. Do you think?
Yeah, I guess so. It's because he's about to go over to his computer, and then he goes over to his like sandbox computer, doesn't he? He puts it in there, which I guess is like the safe version if there's any viruses on it, which of course there are in a slightly different way. Yeah. Something just occurred to me actually. I don't think we've got a name for this Q, have we? Because he's certainly not Jeffrey Boothroyd, is he? As far as
he's not Jeffrey Boothroyd. And oh no, what was like in Tomorrow Never Dies, he had a name, didn't he? But it was double Q. It was like I've forgotten. Yeah, because when he was the when he was delivering the car and he had his Avis jacket on and it had had a name on there. I can't remember what it was.
But that's just a cover name.
Yeah, exactly. That's a cover name. But in terms of this Q, I don't think we have we?
Because we've got we got obviously Judy's M is Olivia Mansfield, isn't it? And then we've got Gareth Mallory as this M, but I don't think we ever got a name for Q, did we?
No,
I want one.
No.
I want one. Yeah.
Because we won't get one.
Yeah, I could see him being a Quentin or something.
Yeah,
like
that was the other one. It was Quentin Quigley. That was his name. It was? Yeah, Quentin Quigley.
Maybe that's a weird half-forgotten memory that just jumped to the top of my brain.
Yeah,
that's Quentin Quigley was his cover name in Tomorrow Never Dies.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. But yeah, it would be cool. So he basically he's got the file and checking through the hard drive, and it turns out that it's the missing files from Obrachev's hard drive are the ones on this USB. And so I love actually Bond pouring Moneypenny a drink, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," and she wasn't expecting it. I think that's a nice little moment because again, you wouldn't normally see that. So Q's examining through the sort of database, and initially it's just sort of Spectre operatives that come up, and they're like deceased, and so on. And then Bond says, "Oh, can you open the other deleted files that he's found?" And then suddenly there's like reams and reams and reams of names and data, which Q sort of says it's DNA data. Like thousands upon thousands of personal information, and Moneypenny says, "Oh, there's been a breach in DNA access like across the world recently, and including theirs. It's highly likely that their DNA will be on there as well." And then Q comes back with that nice line, "Oh, can I have one nice evening before the world explodes?" And that's, I do feel, you got to feel sorry for Q, doesn't you? This poor guy, all he wanted was to have a nice dinner date, have a nice relaxing evening. He got so excited. He just wanted him, his food, his wine, his cats, and his date. And then he gets a doorbell going. He thinks, "Oh, this is going to be such a lovely evening." And Bond and Moneypenny rock up. And as soon as he sees them, he just knows the evening's going to take a turn for the unexpected, I think. Poor guy. I do feel sorry for Q, but I love Q as well. And then we get the bit where Bond basically says he needs to speak with Blofeld to find out where Obrachov has been taken. With obviously the virus, the nanobots, etc. And both... He tells Moneypenny and Q that Emma said there's no access, and they're both like, "Well, hang on a minute, there's one person," sort of thing. And Bond's like, "Well, who?" And obviously, who is it, Tommy? It's Madeleine.
It's Madeleine, of course.
Yes.
It is. Yes.
you had a little brain fart there.
Thank you.
Didn't
I
you?
did. No, do you know what I was doing? I was just scrolling through your notes there, and I was just looking into what was coming up next. And I wasn't
sorry,
quite
man. I
listening.
caught you off.
Apologise, man. That's a
That's
disaster.
all right. I caught you off the cuff there.
Yes, you did.
So it was Madeleine. So then we cut to the whole Saffin Madeleine scene. Now this, I really like this. Okay, so first of all, you see one of Madeleine's colleagues sort of say, "Oh, your patient is here. He's weird," and she's like, "You can't say that." And then before she comes into the room, you just see Saffin, like he's proper creepy in this scene, and you just see him sort of. He's got like one of Madeleine's hairs, hasn't he? And it's sort of in a little folded over cloth, and you see him just sort of playing with it until she comes in, and he quickly sort of hides it, and he's like.
That's proper just, like weird perviness. Isn't it?
Anything to do with hair that people keep. When you hear. I mean, it's on TV quite a lot, but you see these sort of. I don't know, murderers or whatever, and they've always keep a locket of some bit of hair, don't they? Yeah, and he's exactly the same.
So, do you think he basically that hair came out in a clump when he pulled her out of the ice, and he's saved it ever since then?
I think exactly
even creepier.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind. I think that's exactly what happened. And he's like, "Oh, sorry if I surprised you." and it's like, but the look as well. Okay, so now we get to see him properly. Obviously, the half of the mask sort of came off previously, but now you see him properly, and he's like facial scarring. It's really, really bad. What do you think of him in terms of visuals as a villain and as a character?
I think he looks the business, man. I think
Yeah,
he's,
I do.
I think overall, obviously, I think he's a bit underused, as is so often the case with Bond villains, isn't it? I think.
Well, you think Dr. No, you think Raoul Silver.
Yeah.
You know, hardly see
yeah,
those
exactly.
guys.
You don't see them a lot. But I wonder whether that was like because I feel like I remember there was a lot of back and forth with whether Rami was going to do it or not, and I think maybe there was like a scheduling.
His
issue.
timing schedule was really that's exactly it. It was really tight, and they had to
so
do with what they could.
So yeah, I think he looks great. He's got the funky skin. So obviously in Fleming's book, if you've got something wrong with you, then you're a villain. You know what I mean? If you've got a hook, bad guy. Though Felix obviously had a hook for a while, didn't he? If there's something just that's not standard, villainy. That's the Fleming playbook, isn't it? So there he is. I suppose my question is we don't know the story of the mask, do we, or why he wears the mask?
I'll come to that in a bit. I've got I did a little bit of research into that. I'll come to that shortly.
So doing my homework this morning, actually, I listened to an interview with both Daniel and Rami on the Empire Film podcast.
Oh, nice.
And
good.
It was good. Dan Gale sent me a link to it. He said, "Listen to this. This is good." So I had a listen through, and it's interesting because I don't know because you never know with these interviews, do you? Whether they're just sort of going through the motions of like being like, "Oh, everything was great. The director was great." You know, you hear that in every fucking film interview, don't you? Even if they hate the director. But he says he tried to make him a bit ambiguous, where you don't really know where he's coming from or why he wants things and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know whether that's a conscious choice or whether he was just like, it wasn't, because we don't really know why Saffin wants to kill everybody. So it's like maybe he's just trying to sort of fill some holes there. I don't know in his choices. But then in the next breath, he was saying that Saffin is very meticulous. So it's kind of like, and he even said himself, there are some parts of Saffin that he can't work out. He doesn't know. Yeah. So it's like, that's quite an interesting take on
that. That is, yeah. I think I've definitely got some theories behind his motivation and stuff like that, which we'll wait until we get towards the end of the film. But I think Rami Malek, he's brilliant.
So creepy.
I think he's so very well. And like he's obviously he's got the memory box which he has with him as well, which is interesting. But straight away he makes her feel uncomfortable as well. Yeah. He's sort of alluding to her beauty and sort of saying that must be a problem with your clients. And straight away she's kind of caught a bit off guard and like no one has ever said that before. Yeah. This is a bit different.
He is weird.
He is. Yeah, totally. And then he obviously notices the foxglove behind her. And the plant, and he's sort of saying, go on.
That's a very Bond thing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, do you know what the cuckoo does, Fleming. Mr. Bond? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It comes and eats the eggs or whatever. There's always a little story about something like that. And it did make me smile because it was so Bond-like, wasn't it? Not Bond himself, the character. No, as a part of Bond, somebody always has a random story about a plant or something.
Or rats.
And here it is. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So he says the foxglove, and if someone consumes it, it'll make your heart stop like that. And so I like it because then it connects to it. Basically, he then talks about his father who owned a garden, who were really into plants. And although
I got him at that point,
as soon as he said that, you're like, right, could it be? There's something in the back of your mind, like, could it actually be that? And if it is, this is bloody brilliant. And he sort of obviously then Madeleine learns that he lost his father or his parents when he was young, similar to her. So they sort of talk a bit about that, don't they? So they basically talk about the profound effect of losing a parent. But then Saffin mentions that he actually has also saved a life, which he felt a connection to. Yeah. And he says, "Oh, it feels like they belong to you." And then you're like, whoa. And obviously as an audience, we know, but Madeleine doesn't know until he says, "Oh, I can't sort of speak about for myself, but I've bought a memory box." And as soon as she opens the box, you can just see like fear and horror just sweeping over her, and it's all those horrible memories are coming flooding back. And I tell you what, Leia Sadu hacks the nuts off this scene.
Yeah,
she is so good. Like just like straight away, you can just see that horror in her. You can the way that she evokes
her eyes
it.
proper fill up with tears. And don't they? Yeah,
really does. I think she's brilliant. And then and while that's happening, obviously Saffin is saying, "I'll never forget your eyes under the ice. They needed me. They still need me." And you're like, bloody hell, this is proper creepy stuff.
He's brilliant. At being creepy, Rami Malek. He also does a banging Freddie Mercury. It must be
he does. Like, I don't think that would have worked in this film. Imagine that, Freddie the baddie.
What was I going to say now? If you ever watched Mr. Robot,
I remember you saying about that. I have to.
I think that's the series that sort of made his name, I guess.
Yeah.
He plays this like really like a computer hacker type that's just like locked indoors on his computer 24/7, like a really introverted weird dude, and he's super creepy in that too. So that was the first thing I had to look at once he was cast, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. But yeah, like he's very unsettling, isn't he?
Definitely.
You wouldn't really want to go for a drink with him, would you?
No, not at all. And then he goes on to sort of saying that he saved her life and now he owns her. And we hear about the proper backstory. So we hear that he says to her, "Your father killed my entire family, parents." And I like that, just sort of throwaway little line there. That's good. And this is where he basically said he's there because he wants her to do a favor for him. And basically he blackmails her then, doesn't he, into infecting herself. Again, you get the old Majesty's vibes with the atomizer, the sort of perfume spray, which is very, very cool. And basically alludes that he wants her to wear it when she goes to visit Blofeld. And he says it's completely harmless to you, but obviously she realizes that she will kill Blofeld. But initially she doesn't say yes. She sort of asks why, and he's like, "Because I am a man willing to kill the man you love most." And that is pretty tough. And then she says, "Oh, I don't love anyone." And he's like, "We both know that isn't true." And like, oh, I just love. I think he's a wicked villain, man. I really love it. And then at the end of the meeting, he has one of those little sweets off the side, which I thought was quite cool. I like it when people sort of eat random things like the grape and thunderball and stuff like that.
That's a nice touch.
But so it's a really, really creepy scene, but really great. But first of all, like Saffin as a character, obviously we've gone over his appearance. What are your thoughts on? Is it too early to rate him against the other Bond villains? Do you think he is good? He's great, or you're not sure yet, or what do you think?
I can't remember off the top of my head, because like this exchange is all very nice. It's all very creepy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he faces off against Bond later when he's sitting down at the table with Matilda next to him. Does he ever have one of those signature Bond villain speeches? Like
he does at the end, at the very end. Yeah, I think when he's sitting down with Matilda and Bond is facing him at the.
Because it might just be because I've only seen it twice so far, but like in Spectre, obviously you had that you can touch it.
Oh, yeah.
Blofeld looming up out of the shadows, which I think is brilliant. I love that scene in the media room there. Obviously, you have Silver with the long walk down the thing, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't. Yeah,
maybe this is his version of it, but instead of being with Bond, it's with Madeleine, because, like you said previously, it's kind of her film in a way.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the alternative, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I do like it. It's very striking. I do like the mask thing. It's different, isn't it? That's new for the world of Bond. And I would definitely say.
For me, he's the creepiest.
I was about to say exactly that. The creepiest Bond villain we've had. I think there's creepiness in different ways. I've always said Donald Pleasance was a creepy little dude, but in a slightly different way. I always imagined he'd have very clammy hands
and little ones as well.
Yeah, small clammy hands.
Little clammy hands. That's it. I agree. in terms of the mask as well, it's pretty cool. So I did a bit of research into this. So the type of mask is seen, it's called a no mask. It's N-O-H. I don't know if that's noi or no or whatever, but it's basically carved from blocks of Japanese cypress, and they're used a lot in the theatre over there. And if you think about it, later on, Saffin's wearing sort of a Japanese style kimono. His Garden of Death is very Japanese. Obviously, they're linking into You Only Live Twice, and I think this mask isn't like another Japanese style link into it. So it's sort of the face of an actor can never be parted from it. Apparently, they put them inside the dressing room, and as soon as they do that, their performance starts from there. Most people only see the performance on stage, but actors are already immersed in their roles from when they first face the mirror. The masks are very important and are worn only by the main character. It helps to raise the action out of the ordinary to freeze it in time. For the no actor, the mask of a particular character has almost a magical power. For Saffin, it helps to maintain his anonymity while hiding his emotions. Oh. What do you think to that?
All right. Where did we find it? Where did you find that from?
I just Google on the note about the mask and what it meant and how what it might mean to Saffin. I think he's definitely got a fondness for everything Japanese style. But if you think about it, obviously, anyone who has a face like that, they're probably not so keen to want to display it. So he's got his mask, but it also it's scary as hell as well. It looks creepy as hell, and you can't sort of tell his emotions. And there was another thing that when they were photographing this mask, from each angle, it looks slightly different. So it could almost look happy from one angle, from another it looked scary, from another it looked angry. And it's quite interesting how they said that. I think that was one of the main stylist for the film was saying that, and that's why Kerry was interested in the mask being used.
There's a Japanese connection for old Fukunaga, isn't it? It's like
of course, yeah.
That's it. So it's I'm guessing that's where that influence came from.
Definitely,
but, nice.
So I looked also into names again. So we've got Lucifer Safin. Okay, Lucifer Saffin. Okay, so now let's start with Lucifer. So it's Russian for Lucifer. Now most people know Lucifer to mean the devil or Satan or something like that, but it can also mean the shining one or light bringer or morning star, and it's associated with the planet Venus.
Interesting.
So and Saffin can generally it means boat or ship or something like that. So looking at it a couple of different ways, it could possibly mean that it's the boat that brings light to the world. So if Saffin sees himself as someone that's here to heal the world, which again I'm going to put into my thoughts on his motivation in a later episode, but I think he's seeing Heracles not as something to attack people, but to use it to get rid of people. Well, I guess I'll sort of say a bit now. I think he sort of him and Bond sort of had that speech later where we're both the same, we both eradicate people, I just want it to be a tidier. And I think he sees that as basically there are certain people in the world who are basically maybe born with disabilities or born that aren't, it's almost a bit like the Aryan race,
style-y.
A bit Hitler style. And I think he thinks that's he wants to exactly. That's the perfect way of doing it. And I think as Lightbringer to the world, that's how he sees himself. And for me, I think there's definitely part of that motivation in him.
I suppose it's a bit like old Drax and his master race in space, isn't it? It's there is that. It's crazy, isn't it, when you think that Hitler was a real person, isn't it? Because he's almost like the ultimate Bond villain when you think about it, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's the ultimate.
It's bananas to think that all that shit went on.
Crazy.
Yeah,
but I think that's well, it is. Yeah.
Fucking hell, Tommy's getting cancelled after a statement like that. Hitler would have made a good Bond villain, I reckon. Yeah, nice. Anyway,
well, they almost had it in Hugo Drax's novel. He was kind of Hitler-esque, wasn't he?
That's true, very much so.
So not too dissimilar. Yeah. But I think also the alternative is maybe like the boats of Satan. So maybe the bringer of destruction.
It's interesting that Lucifer, which obviously, like you say, is the devil or Satan, nasty man, evil.
Yeah.
But then it also means light bringer, which I would take to mean the exact opposite. So that's strange, isn't it? I don't know.
But I think that's a reflection of how other people would view him. So other people might view him as the devil or Satan or whatever, if he's bringing destruction to the world, but yet he sees himself as this light bringer, as this thing who's here to help the world, to heal, to cleanse the world. Yeah. So I think there's that sort of play. Yeah. There's also one other thing that I found about the name. The French translation, if you separate Safin, so S-A and then F-I-N, it translates as its end or come to an end. And he's obviously, with what happens at the end, and also it's what he's trying, of what Heracles can do to other people's lives, Safin, come to an end. So maybe there's a bit of that in it as well. What do you think?
And we do have a French bongo, so
indeed. We'll have to exactly, actually, and it could even be it's her end. So that's something else I found. One other thing I also found was, Saffin's, obviously we mentioned the scarring in the face. We know he sort of survived the family. There's a dioxin poisoning that Mr. White did to kill off his family, and he obviously survived but disfigured. So apparently I looked into this, and with dioxin poisoning, in terms of if you survive, it does form like a grayscale map of sort of broken veins and seared bones and stuff like that. And that's according to the World Health Organization. So if you have exposure to high levels of dioxin, that's kind of what it'll end up looking like. So it says it may result in skin lesions such as chloroacne or patchy darkening of the skin and altered liver function. So in a way, I think Saffin's appearance is at least sort of medically accurate in terms of what they were doing. So that's kind of cool as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was of course Mr. White's end as well, wasn't it? He got the thallium on his phone, I think it was, wasn't it, Inspector, and the radiation, and he met his end that way as well. So yeah, absolutely interesting.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So basically, just finish off this little episode. Then, do you feel like you've got an idea of everything that happened? So basically, Saffin's family, as we learned, were the poisoners for Spectre. So they were kind of employed to harness, to grow the poison. This is the Garden of Death, to grow the poison to then supply Mr. White and Spectre. But then Blofeld clearly thought, okay, they're doing a great job. Maybe it'll be better if we cut out the middleman, so to speak. So he basically orders White to kill the family. White kills all of them apart from Saffin, who obviously survives, somehow must have escaped. Spectre takes over the island, but then obviously Saffin, once he's older, comes back to then take over the island from Spectre. And to do that, A, he must have a lot of financial backing, and B, he's obviously got an army, like we see at the end. He's got his own art. He's got his scientists and his people that sort of do the toxins and manufacture that. But he's also got a load of sort of soldiers, his own sort of army, hasn't he? So he must have. This is the part that I think you were referring to earlier, where Rami Malek was probably, there's a bit of backstory that you don't quite find out about, and I think how you find out about how he's gone from sort of a sole surviving kid, probably with a background with that he has to escape, to suddenly getting lots of money from somehow to be able to afford to have his own army and everything like that, to then obviously Spectre wouldn't exactly leave that island unguarded, so he must have had enough to overpower whatever Spectre guards were on that island to then take it back himself, and also hold up enough of a threat that Spectre didn't want to try and take it back again. So there's a lot of that to be thought about, I think. What's your thought on all of that?
Yeah, I suppose you just don't know. It's like you don't get very far in the world if you're a skint Bond villain, do you? So he's got to be at least a millionaire, hasn't he, in order to
more than that these days.
You know what I mean? So it's you just don't know. There's no like, typically with your Bond villains, you have a scene and then Q goes, well, no, he's one of the world's leading industrialists, and you're like, Q, come on, mate. How many?
Or Jeffrey Keane, isn't it? He sold the Minister of Defence. That's it. Yeah, he loves it.
How many times have these super wealthy dudes turned out?
He's a leading French industrialist.
That's it. Surely that would be the first place you'd look.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
So
he's one of the richest men in the world. Oh, well, it can't be him then.
Yeah. Well, we don't get that moment where M's like, "What do you know about Lucifer Saffin 007?"
Yeah.
You know, and
that's because no one does. I think
nobody does know.
Yeah,
so,
which is pretty cool.
What do you think that is? Do you think that's good, or do you think that's just a bit like, oh dear, that's not,
like part of me really wants to know how he obviously was able to finance it, or what happened between the time of him surviving and escaping to returning to the island to take over with his army. That whole period of time, I am intrigued to know. Obviously, we're never going to know unless there's other stuff that gets leaked or whatever. So part of me is like, it's quite cool because you get to form your own thing of how that happened. But equally, I'd be quite probably more satisfied if there was just one or two little hints as to you like. I know it's not your favorite, but Gustav Graves, or he makes a fortune in diamond mining and oil and gas or something like that. It's just one,
like that, and you're like, okay, now I know where it comes from.
Now I know. Yeah. Whereas here with Saffin, we don't know that. So yeah, it is interesting. I guess it's everyone will formulate their own version of how he came to a sort of power, I suppose.
Yeah. This is the first time we've had sort of like a main villain be against another main villain, isn't it? Really, not that Blofeld's the main villain this time, but he has been the main villain, and I mean, ultimately he is the ultimate villain for Bond. But yeah, so that's a new little dynamic that we've not really come across before. But yeah, interesting. I feel I'm glad you took all those notes, man, because I feel like I'm putting lots of holes together as we're going through. I
think it does help. It is weird because obviously first viewing it's so difficult to take it all in. You have your second or third, and slowly those little plot holes begin to fill. And everything that I remember thinking, in the first one, I couldn't quite remember how that worked. The majority of them have kind of woven together, and the threads have all linked up. And actually, I think it's a really, really tight script. I think it's obviously there are some things like we just mentioned with the Saffin backstory which we don't get, but I think there are less plot holes in this film than there are in Spectre or Skyfall. For me, I think so. But yeah, I guess it's also personal preference as well, I suppose. But
I bet you there are several people that just ripped their earbuds out of their ears disgust at that statement. How dare you, Chris Wright? Sallow, Skyfall's good name. But yeah, interesting, man. It's all a study process. Do you know what? I don't remember having a Bond experience in the cinema where it's made me think as much as this.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Same here. Yeah, totally.
And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, it's definitely.
I think it's a good thing because you know that the film is layered. Because as you come back for multiple viewings, you learn more each time.
Yeah,
and it does fit together. Obviously, no film is perfect, and there are a few things in this that are missing maybe a little bit, but overall, I think it's very cleverly done with this film. But then some people obviously aren't keen on it, and each to their own.
I tell you what, I want to get my hands on that Danny Boyle script, man.
Totally. So do you think ultimately then the reason that Danny Boyle didn't accept or was left or kicked off or whatever happened was because A, he didn't want to kill Bond, or also the other thing was, do you remember there was that Russian there's going to be like a Russian villain, I think, Russian general, and he had an idea for an actor, a Polish guy, I think, but Daniel didn't want that guy, and Daniel obviously has a bigger say over casting these days, and I think that was part of it, but also maybe, they say creative differences, so it could be the actor, it could have been the script, it could have been a combination of things. What do you think?
I'll tell you what my gut feeling tells me, and this is pure speculation, I don't know, obviously, but here's what I think happened, right? Danny Boyle, big name director, comes in. He's got his vision for the film. Daniel has an unprecedented amount of power in what happens to Bond. None of the Bond actors before have been given anything like that. And I think ultimately what happened there is that Daniel was pulling in one direction, Boyle was pulling in the other, and Boyle probably got to a point where he realized, actually, I'm not making my film here. I'm making Daniel's film. Yeah. And I think ultimately, I guess you could perceive this in an insulting way, but I feel like they got Fukunaga on board as somebody who was going to play ball with Daniel and do that vision.
Yeah.
because I imagine that's what it is. Because somebody like Danny Boyle he's going to want to come in and make the film he wants to make, and I don't think that
it would be so good to A, get that script, and B, just have a chat with him just to spill the beans a little bit.
Maybe once it all dies down, we can get hold of him and have a chat.
Well, I'll be up for that. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, that about wraps up day 8 then. Anything else to say about those scenes today?
No, I'm finished, mate. I'm done. I've had enough.
Had enough, right? See you later then.
Yeah, no, that about rounds up today's action, doesn't it?
That's it. Yep.
Tomorrow we shall return, and we will be paying a visit to MI6 and Belmarsh. And I'm going to warn you, Chris, I've got a lot to say about this.
You know what? I thought you might do. I thought you might do. So I think it's going to be an interesting episode tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, then, mate. I will see you tomorrow.
Cool. I'll see you then. And everyone else, see you tomorrow. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Good night.